Hello and welcome to Press TV News Analysis. I'm Kavit. In this news analysis, we're going to look at Pakistan. It's facing a series of crises which is threatening its political landscape. Its Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani has lost support, the economy is struggling, and the opposition leader Nawaz Sharif has given an ultimatum to the current government, which some say is on its way out.
Pakistan's beleaguered government is facing a three-day deadline by the leader of the main opposition party to accept a list of demands to avert its collapse. The head of the Muslim League N, Nawaz Sharif, has urged the government to cancel a recent increase in fuel prices and to cut public spending by 30%. The former Prime Minister has also said the government must implement a series of court verdicts against ruling party officials for corruption charges. Gilani's coalition government lost its slender majority in Parliament on Sunday after the Muttahida Qawmi movement joined the opposition. MQM, which is the second largest party in the ruling coalition, said the move was because of the government's failure to improve security. The MQM withdrawal means that if opposition parties decide to unite, they would be able to force a no-confidence vote on Prime Minister Gilani in Parliament, and this could trigger early elections. Meanwhile, Gilani has met with opposition leaders in what many experts believe a desperate bid to shore up support and make new allies after the MQM withdrawal. Many are calling for Gilani's resignation over his handling of security. In a latest incident, the high-profile member of the ruling party and the governor of the Punjab province, Salman Taseer, has been assassinated in Islamabad. Taseer was a close ally to President Asid Ali Zardari. His government has made no progress in solving the critical economic problems that forced the country to rely on $11 billion in loans from the International Monetary Fund. Pakistan is grappling with rising inflation, chronic power outages, and consequences of last year's devastating floods. The country is also facing a growing insurgency worsened by the war in Afghanistan. In addition, many people in Pakistan are blaming the government's weakness for rising US drone attacks in tribal regions bordering Afghanistan. There have been furious protests across the country in recent months over the growing number of civilian casualties by drone attacks.
Well, it certainly looks like a grim picture there for Pakistan. Let's bring in our guests to find out their views about the current crisis that Pakistan is facing. We have political analyst Muhammad Shafiqur Rahman joining us from Islamabad. From the Pakistan Movement for Justice, Atif Ali joins us from London. And from the Middle East Institute, Marvin Weinbaum joins us from Washington. I want to thank all our guests for joining us in this news analysis. Let me first go to our guest in Islamabad to find out the latest political development and your views on that, which has left Gilani a minority government in power. If you can tell us how that happened and whether it was avoidable, because some analysts are now saying that Gilani only has maybe a few weeks at best, if not days, to keep his coalition intact or scrap together a new one.
Yeah, I think definitely, because in a parliamentary democracy, the number game is very important. The number game in Pakistan politics is also very important at the moment, because to remain in government, Gilani government requires 172 votes in the lower house of the parliament. At the moment, they are less than 150. And it is very unlikely that any opposition party is likely to join them and to support them. Because at the moment, they just, because of few constitutional, constraints, that the Gilani government is not resigning, because number one, only the president under Article 92 can ask the government to seek vote of majority from the parliament, or else the opposition parties can bring, with 20% seats, total seats of the parliament, they can bring in a no confidence motion into the parliament. But at the moment, the opposition parties are not together, or they're not unified on this point, because every opposition party has its own agenda. So at the moment, they're just hanging in there, but definitely hanging in there is not the only thing, because they need to do some legislation, pass money bills, pass the budget of the country. So as long as they cannot do all these important things, there's no point being staying in the government. So a time will come, sooner or later, maybe weeks or maybe a couple of months, that that they will have to go.
Okay, we're going to expand on that a little bit more a little later, but let's look at some of the challenges facing Gilani, and I can come up with one in which, well, the question comes up, how is he going to be able to push through economic reforms? And the one that seems to be at the top of the list at this point is the ones that are demanded by the IMF in terms of that $11 billion loan repayment. Our guest in London, Atif Ali.
Well, at the moment, we can see clearly the current government is facing a huge, not a crisis, but a dilemma in giving the relief to the people on the street. There is a huge food inflations. There is an excess energy bills people are burdened with. There's, on top of that, there's RGST. There's a new reformed VAT they want to implement, which is in a sense is a documentation of the Pakistani economy on one side, but in reality it's an extra burden over the people who are already overstrained, overburdened by the catastrophe they already faced last year in form of the floods. On top of the war on terror has really drained us of our resources, whatever we have. At the end, we have a political leadership in Pakistan which is installed in is trying to run a country on a day-to-day basis. Currently they are borrowing about 2 billion rupees per day, about $23 million per day, and putting an extra strain over the economy. So what we are seeing, I will agree with your guest in Islamabad, that there's a huge trust deficit among the opposition itself. Forget about the government, which has shown its incompetency to deal any crisis we have felt today, and this is what has been shown in the parliament and outside the parliament.
Marvin Wambon, let's look at how America is viewing this. I mean, is this instability going to work against the U.S. objectives? And we could use the word pressure within that context on Pakistan, given the situation in Afghanistan and tribal regions in Pakistan.
Well, obviously, any kind of distractions, such as we now see with the instability in the government, detracts from what the U.S. would like Pakistan to be focusing on. And a large part of that, of course, is the operations in the frontier area. So this is very disturbing here in Washington, that the government may now be in a position where it's at least able to take tough decisions, and we, as suggested by your other guests, we could see this going on for some period of time.